Next up, we have Belinda Allen, a trainer and coach and Microsoft Power BI MVP. Belinda is currently a Microsoft Power Platform certified trainer, speaker, and the co-author of 2 books on business intelligence and Microsoft Dynamics GP. In her session, she will share her journey from marketing major to Microsoft MVP so that others can apply these lessons in their own journeys.
Thanks, Deborah. If you're attending this session, you're probably interested in becoming an MVP, or you just want to learn more about the Microsoft MVP program. And I'm going to share my journey with you on how I became an MVP because it was kind of by accident, not necessarily by design. So I'm Belinda Allen, as Deborah mentioned, and I'm a Power BI MVP. So I'm part of the data platform team. Now, my degree in college was marketing, so I was far from IT. In fact, there were very few IT degrees available when I was in college. This was back in the 80s, so there wasn't a lot to choose from. You could do Fortran or mainframe systems were big. The PC wasn't quite out yet, and so there wasn't a lot you could do in as far as IT goes. So that was something that I've never thought about doing before. Although I have to say, I've always been very intrigued by technology. I grew up in the 70s. So growing up in the 70s, Mary Tyler Moore and the Mary Tyler Moore Show was something that I watched on a regular basis, and I adored Mary Tyler Moore. So when the spinoff show Lou Grant came on, of course I watched that because Lou Grant was one of the main characters in the Mary Tyler Moore Show. And I remember a 1980 episode. I looked up the year because I was curious about when I saw this. There was an episode that they ran a newspaper where one of the characters faxed a photo that he took so that it could appear in the newspaper. Now, in 1980, fax machines were not popular. In fact, I'd never even heard of a fax machine, let alone had any inkling as to what it did. So I was unbelievably intrigued by the concept of a picture being transported from one place to someplace else in a matter of minutes. Yes, it was minutes, not the seconds we have now where we could just text something over our phone. So technology has always been something that's been very interesting to me. Now, I also love marketing, and I love the concept about why people interact with the way they do when it comes to things like consumption of goods, or why they buy something, or what motivates them to buy something or be interested in certain products. So right out of college, I was working for Holiday Corporation. In fact, I was a general manager of a Hampton Inn at the ripe young age of 24. At that point, they were owned by Holiday Corporation. And I had worked at hotels, particularly for Holiday Corporation, while I was in college. So it was just kind of a natural progression. And I remember at that bright young age of 24, where I was basically too stupid to know how stupid I was, I remember having to create or distribute bonuses, and I had certain percentages I had to do. So my husband, who was my then boyfriend at the time, suggested that I try doing it on the computer. Now, these were like, they didn't know computers with no hard drive. They had basically floppy disk in them. And so I had Multiplan, which was a Microsoft product, I believe. It was a spreadsheet way before Excel came out. And it took me a long time, but I created a bonus plan where I could put everybody in, put in the maximum dollars, and then do a lot of what ifs until I was able to figure out who could get how much bonus. So that was my first introduction to doing anything technology related. And as I got married and I left my job and moved to where my husband was living, I started my own business doing a liaison work with customers and their CPAs. I was kind of the in-between. And that's when I actually bought my first PC. No hard drive in it. Everything ran on floppy disk. And so again, I was very intrigued with the idea of technology and what it could do for you. And I was benefiting customers and even doing their payroll by doing everything in an automated fashion. In fact, I brought one of my toys with me This is a Hewlett-Packard PDA, personal digital or data administrator, or I don't even know what they called it then, but it's a giant tool. And if you compare it to my phone, it's bigger than my phone. It's super heavy. And yes, this was like the ultimate of new technology. It connected using this modem, right? This PCMCIA card. I'm really aging myself here. 33.6 modem. So it was lightning fast. But nonetheless, technology prevailed and I kept being more and more interested. And then I kind of fell into being a consultant for ERP software called Great Plains at the time, which Microsoft later purchased. And that's where my MVP journey really began. So part of this embracing of technology had to do with the way that my husband and I approached our customers. He also came from the hotel background. So we worked with our customers the same way we did when we had guests at the hotel. It's easy to meet the objectives or the expectations of hotel guests. They all want a clean room. They want a nice room, and they want to enjoy themselves and be treated special. So it was really easy to achieve their goals. When it comes to accounting software, it's a lot tougher because people get frustrated by working with technology when they don't know it. And so learning it is a little bit tougher. So we used a lot of those same approaches. In fact, I was very, very early. The first one I know in my circles to use video to help do tech support with people. Lotus 123, again, aging myself, had a video tool. So some of the common support issues I had, I created little videos and would put them on diskettes and I would mail them to our customers. Bulletin boards were out, but internet wasn't very prominent if it was existing at all. So we would mail out these diskettes and they could do a little bit of their own research, if you will, using these floppy disks. And we also incorporated user groups within our organization because we learned very quickly that customers who knew more about the product used it better, were happier, and they actually spent more with us because what they spent with us improved the return on investment. So every dollar they spent with us actually made their businesses better. It wasn't just an expense or a black hole of fixing a problem or answering a question. So we took great pride in that kind of attitude. And as we hired our team and grew our team, that was the atmosphere we tried to put out. Now, one of our team members became an MVP. His name is Jivtesh Singh. He now works for Microsoft. Still think of him as one of my children. Absolutely adore him. And he encouraged me to start blogging. So when the technology came around, I started to blog. And blogging is one of the ways that you could be awarded an MVP. So if you create a blog that helps other people, then that's one of the things you could do to get an MVP award. So I use that same approach of creating video content on diskettes, and I did it using YouTube. And I used my blog just to organize the channel and started distributing. So I pretty much started a vlog, if you will, a video blog, very, very early on trying to help people. And at that point, Jivtesh nominated me to become an MVP, and Microsoft acknowledged because I had a lot of followers on YouTube and a lot of followers of my blog as well. Now, I want to talk about blogging for a moment, because if you are interested in becoming an MVP, you're going to probably want to have a blog, even if you don't blog on a regular basis. And the blog, if you think about how to blog for yourself or blog for someone out there who's just like you. There's the user out there who is at your same level or a notch below you that needs to take advantage of what you have to share. So if you blog for that individual, then you're going to be helping them. But I don't know anybody who blogs that hasn't gone into Bing or Google and did a search and found their own blog to answer their own questions. So if you think about it, if you create a blog for your own library of learning and just make it available for people to share or to pull from, then you're doing a great service. So let's get back to what the MVP program really is. It's an award. It's not a status that you want to strive to so much as it is Microsoft saying, hey, thank you. Thank you for contributing to our community. Thank you for making our community a better place. And that's what it's really about. So if you're not willing to do community work and help out, then there's no point in even thinking about becoming an MVP. There is a certain amount of status that we think we have. I don't know that that's reality, but we think we have a certain amount of status. But nonetheless, I don't know any MVPs that have been MVPs for any length of time that do not care about the community as a whole, that are not always striving to help other people in the community. And that's just a reality. And all the people who are presenting to you at this conference are caring about the community, and they're wanting to share their experiences and share their knowledge with you. And that's what being an MVP is really about. So you could be an MVP that blogs, you could be an MVP that does videos, you could be an MVP that presents. An important MVP activity is maintaining forums. So any of the forums out there, particularly like the Microsoft Community Forum, if you go out there and you answer questions, or even if you're just saying, hey, you should ping so-and-so because I think they're a good resource, or check out this person's blog because I think it could probably help you. That is making your community a better situation. So that's something that's definitely going to benefit you in the long and the short run. So that's something that you definitely want to work on doing. Now, even mentoring is a way to help people along. And especially as women, we are in a little bit of a different boat than our men counterparts in technology. There are significantly fewer of us out there. And particularly if you extend it along the diversity group, which I am now trying to increase in technology, and that would be all women, all people of color, whether African American or Latinos, it doesn't matter, Hispanics of all natures, any person of color, any woman, any member of the LGBTQ, any person that is differently abled, all of these people need to have a stronger presence in the IT community. We're not even a third of the community for most places, and that's pretty sad. It's unfortunate that someone who has been in IT as long as I have, I've been in IT over 30 years. And in 30 years, you would think I would be in situations where I'm no longer the only woman in the room. But unfortunately, that's not the case. Still frequently, I'll attend something that is a little more techie, and I look around and I'm the only woman in the room. And even worse, I look around and I don't see anybody of color, or I don't see anyone who has apparent different abilities. So we need to make sure that we are more inclusive in everything we do. And it could be something as easy as greeting someone that you see. You see another female in the room, walk up and say, hi, what are you thinking of this session? And make them feel a little bit welcomed. I look back in all of my years because I have these philosophies in life. And one of them is you find what you go looking for. And so I would say I'm not going to look for any kind of sexism attitude. I'm not going to look for boys' clubs. I know they were there. I just chose not to look for them and do what I had to do in spite of them and not because of them or running from them. And in doing so, I frequently would not acknowledge the other person in the room who was the standout, like I was the only woman, or maybe they would be the second woman, or they would be a person of color. And I regret that from all these years that I didn't walk up and try to make them feel a little bit better. I hope that they continue to go to events like that, even though nobody even, welcomed them. But I would just get in my own little world and do my own little thing like a lot of IT people would do. So that's something that we want to make sure that we do as women who are attending this, and actually anyone who's attending this, even if you are someone who doesn't fall within my definition of diversity, then you should at least see if there's someone diverse in the room, make them feel welcome. So make them feel like that they could come back and attend again. This is so incredibly important. As we have children and daughters and granddaughters, we do not want things to end up the same way for them that they were for us. Now, I didn't face as much issues as a lot of women face because I started my own company very early on and have worked for myself for all these years. So gender issues was not a question with me. But unfortunately, so many young girls are starting in IT fields and leaving because they're running into these boys club niches. And this is something that we want to really work to avoid. So back to the whole picture, because if you're thinking about diversity, then that's a way of helping the community as well. It's all about making people better users, making people prosper in their own business world. And that's something that we want to do. So whether you have chosen IT as your profession of choice, or you fell into it like I did, embrace it. Take what you've learned and share it with everybody that you could think of in any way that works for you. Now, I wouldn't suggest doing all the ways, but do them in a way that works for you. Blogging, or become a presenter, or answer forum questions. Any of those activities will make you become a community leader. And that's all you really need to do. And even if you're on a new journey, you're like, well, I don't know enough about Power BI yet to do any of these things. Well, then my thing to you is you're the perfect person then, because there's someone who's in that same learning space you're in. They're like, I'm just starting to dip my toe in. So take them on the journey with you. A very dear friend of mine, Steve Indo, who's an MVP, he was learning a new Dynamics product, a Microsoft Dynamics product, and he was already an MVP of another Dynamics product. But what he did was beautiful and brilliant. He's like, I'm going to learn this and I'm just going to take people on the journey. He started doing YouTube live events, and he also had live events on streaming also on some other avenues as well. And as he learned the product, he would share what he was learning while he was learning it. And it was a beautiful thing because he rose a lot of people with him in the product. He's also one of the people who'd made me painfully aware of how few women were out there. I kind of got complacent in it. And at an MVP summit the day beforehand, we're having lunch. There are 4 of us who are very good friends. 2 of us were female, 2 male. And he leans over and whispers, where are the women? And my answer was, we're right here. And he goes, no, at this conference. And that was a reminder to me of how few of us there are. So we really need to not only work with technology on improving ourselves and bringing up the community, but we should pay attention to the people who are like us and help them rise too. So I hope that this has some, kind of like personal touches for you. I know it may sound like I'm rambling a bit, but this is a topic that's very near and dear to my heart. Like becoming an MVP, my goal was 10 years. I hit 10 years this year. And so I'm quite happy with my MVP journey so far. I get more excited than you could possibly imagine when somebody tells me, hey, I learned from that. That was a cool topic, or that was just what I needed to hear when I needed to hear it, regardless of whether I'm talking about a product feature or I'm talking about let's help our sisters along, let's help people of color along, let's make the room look more like the world that we're in. So that being said, I'm going to close out for now. Reach out to MVPs. Reach out to me if you're interested in learning more about the MVP program and you want a little bit of guidance, because I'm here to help, just like every other MVP and just like every fantastic presenter in this conference that we're having. So have a good one, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you for sharing your story and lessons on becoming a technology community evangelist and becoming an advocate for others, Belinda.